Hey guys, what's up? Bob here. So, I wanted to introduce you to the Philly Shuckles. This is going to be my p.i.c.a team, and I'm going to be using it over the course of the next several weeks, let's say. Hopefully we'll win the entire thing, but at least for the regular season, this is going to be my team. So, I'm going to go ahead and go over it, and it should be pretty interesting. So I'm going to go one at a time, each Pokemon that I picked, and explain why I picked them and stuff. So if you're interested in Pokemon, if you're interested in p.i.c.a, feel free to watch this. If not, I'm going to tell you right now, it's all Pokemon, so tune out if you don't feel like watching it. Anyways, let's go ahead and start. And I picked, with my, franchise pick, I went ahead and picked up a Politoed. Now, the reason I went with Politoed is because he's one of my favorite Pokemon to use in OU. I think that he has a lot of utility, both as a defensive and an offensive Pokemon. He can effectively use Specs, Scarf, or a defensive set. And basically, what he does is sets up Rain when he switches in, which allows me to run sort of a Rain-based team. I had kind of an idea to run sort of like a semi-Rain team that I could switch in and out different cores to complement what I want to do. And one of those cores is the Rain. So you'll see some other things that benefit from having Rain up as we go, and if I don't feel like using stuff that benefits from having Rain up, I can swap it out and bring in something else. So that was my idea, and I think it should go pretty well for me. So next Pokemon is Mega Venusaur. So with this, I actually get regular Venusaur as well, but I also get the ability to Mega Evolve him, which is going to be super important for me. Basically, what he's going to do for me, he gives me a really good half of a bulky core. He can be pretty good defensively on either side. He's also got decent offenses, so we can't discount that. But basically, the plan for him is to use him defensively and make use of that awesome poison typing that resists like fighting and stuff. And basically, just keep him around to deal with like knockoff users, that sort of stuff. He should be really good in that regard, so hopefully we can make some pretty good use of him. So, third pick, I went with Crocodile. Now, Crocodile is really interesting in a couple of different ways. He's got, and basically the entire idea of this team is utility. I want to have a bunch of different sets that I can effectively run with each Pokemon, and Crocodile can run a couple of really, really nasty sets. He can run Banded, he can run Scarfed with like Moxie, he can run a defensive set with Intimidate, he can set up rocks, he can knock off very effectively, he checks a lot of different Pokemon, and he's got a nifty little electric immunity. So basically, he's going to be a really good threat, either offensively or defensively, whatever I decide to go with. And I'm probably going to use him on as many of my teams as I can. So that's pretty cool. So fourth is Rotom Wash. I was actually really surprised to see that this guy was still around at the third actual round of picking stuff. But I went ahead and picked him up. Basically, Rotom is able to, he's able to fill a bunch of different niches. You can use him offensively with like a Scarf or a choice, any sort of choice item, and Trick, and basically cripple a lot of his normal checks. You can also use him defensively. He can run a very good physically defensive set, or you can run him specially defensively. He is very good at that as well. He's got nifty typing with electric and water. The ability to levitate so that he can avoid earth attacks, and he's just got a lot of different utility things that I can use him for. Also has very good synergy with Mega Venusaur, just because their typings kind of complement each other. Mega Venusaur is weak to flying, but Rotom covers that pretty well. Rotom is weak to grass. Mega Venusaur quad resists it, so you can use him very effectively. So that's probably going to be my core for a lot of my games. And then, fourth pick, the fourth actual pick, Politoed was just kind of on there already. I went with Tornadus Incarnate form. I was thinking about going with Tornadus Therian, but somebody picked it like right before me, which is okay. I really like Tornadus Incarnate as well. I used him a lot previously in like previous generations. He's got really good speed, really good special attack, and really good physical attack. So basically, you can use him in a couple of different ways. He's super good, basically. I went with him just because A, he can throw hurricanes, and if I get rain up, then they'll be perfectly accurate. He's got a couple of different sets that you can use. He's got Defiant and Prankster, so you could potentially use a couple of different abilities depending on what your opponent is going to bring. Probably Prankster is going to be the more prominent ability that I'm going to pick, but I like having the option. As with everything else, I like having lots of different options. So yeah, definitely happy with Tornadus Incarnate. Next up, I went with Cobalion. Cobalion, I don't know how to say that. I don't know how to pronounce that correctly, but basically what he does is he gives my team another really good Pokemon that can function in a couple of different ways. He's very resistant to dark types, which is fantastic because I needed a good dark resist. He's also incredibly powerful, just in terms of his attacking prowess. It doesn't look super amazing at first, but he's got good boosting moves. He can do Calm Mind, he can do Sword Stance. He's got Justified as his ability, so if he gets hit with a dark move, it boosts his attack. So physical is probably the better option for using him. But he can run a couple of different sets. He's got very good speed, very good physical defense, so you can run him defensively if you want, and have him as like a speedy stealth rocker. Basically, he has a lot of different utility. Plus, he's a steel type, so he resists fairy, or he doesn't resist fairy, but he can hit it very effectively. So, yeah, he's a good option. Next up, I actually went with another steel type, so I'm having a couple of different ground weaknesses, but with Rotom and Cobalion and stuff, some of the later picks I went with, that shouldn't be a super, super bad thing. But I went with Jirachi. Jirachi is very, very powerful in a number of different ways. Again, another very good Pokemon that you can use in a bunch of different ways. Jirachi can run a really, really nasty Choice Scarf set with Iron Head and just flinch stuff to death. It can also run a very, very good Calm Mind set and basically set up and boost past stuff. He has good speed. He's got good, pretty much everything, really. He's base 100 across the board, which is very good. And his boosting moves are fantastic. His typing isn't bad. He's, he resists, He resists a number of different types due to his steel typing. Same with Cobalion. And basically, the psychic typing lets him hit opposing poison types. It lets him hit a good number of types. And then whatever he can't hit with his psychic typing, steel usually covers for. So, Flash Cannon, a good option. Or I could just go with, he's got a bunch of different coverage moves as well. Basically, he's a really good thing that I can just throw on a team. And I'll know if I want to have him on a team, and then I can come up with the set later to complement the team better. So that's really good. I think that's going to be really beneficial for me. Next up is Kingdra. So I wanted to have a good Swift Swim user, and Kingdra really fits that bill. He's got good stats across the board, amazing typing. Dragon and Water gives him 2 weaknesses. 2 weaknesses, Dragon and Fairy. But there aren't a lot of things that resist both of his stabs. Fairy types usually take a fair bit from water moves. Steel types, there are a few that resist water, but not a ton. And he can run a couple of good different sets. He can do Dragon Dance. He can do, that Focus Energy set. You can run him physical or special, which is, again, something I value. Basically, he's really nasty. And the fact that he gets Swift Swim is really cool because I can run that with Politoed. So, that's definitely a good option. Next up, I saw that I didn't have a Fairy type, and I wanted to rectify that. I actually went with a Fairy type that I see a lot when I play OU, but it was really low on the ladder, in the tier rankings. So, I went with Slurpuff. Basically, this little muffin thing. What is he, like a cupcake? Anyway, what he does is he can run a really, 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 really good belly drum set, and that gives me another really good physical attacker, so I can potentially, if I see my opponent doesn't have a ton of good physically defensive Pokemon, I can load up on physical attackers and just kind of power through them. But yeah, basically, he runs a couple of nifty... He's basically one of the things that is kind of limited in what he does, but the sets that he runs are that Belly Drum Unburden set. It's really good. So I wanted to pick him up. And it's a dragon immunity, so that's pretty cool. Not that I needed another thing that's like resistant to dragon attacks, but because I've already got like 2 steals. But, you know, having him, why not, right? I actually went with another dragon next. I went ahead and picked up a Flygon. Now, Flygon I have for a different reason than a lot of my other guys. Flygon's one of the, I think he's the only thing on my team that I know of anyway, that learns Defog. And I wanted to have a good defogger. Flygon resists stealth rocks and is immune to both spikes and toxic spikes. So I can potentially get him in there and defog and get rid of hazards, which is good. So basically, he's really nifty though, because you can run him Scarf, you can run him Banded. He can do a special set, but it's not very good. He can get U-turn, he can block Volt Switch. He's really good, just in general. I know that, Garchomp is probably better in every respect, but Flygon was really low in the tier list, so I could get him cheap. And, yeah, he's just really good. And my last pick, I had to have a tier 5, so I went ahead and picked up a Gourgeist. And the reason I went with Gourgeist is because I needed, well, like I said, I needed my tier 5. I was debating between him and Golark, but I didn't want to have another ice weakness because I just picked up a Flygon. I already had, you know, I know Mega Venusaur doesn't really count for that, but Tornadus, he's weak to ice. Not that I don't have anything to cover it, but whatever. Also, you know, he's also weak to Dark, which I don't really have a ton of resists for other than Cobalion. I think he's my only... him and Crocodile are my only ones, and Crocodile doesn't really want to take a knockoff, just because he wants his item. But yeah, Gourgeist... well, actually, he's Dark weak too. Whatever. Anyway, Gourgeist is pretty good. He's got really good physical defense. He can throw Will-O-Wisp. He's... and he can actually attack pretty well too. So, yeah, I like him. Basically, I've seen Robotnik use him really effectively previously, and I figured I'd give him a spin. He's actually got a lot in common with Mega Venusaur, so if I trade anything at the little free agency window thing, might be him, and I'll see if I can pick up something better. But Gourgeist, I saw him there, and it was like, this guy is way too good to not get picked, so I went with him. Anyway, that's the team. Should be pretty powerful. I'm not super bulky in any on any side, but what I'm looking at, well, actually, I have a good number of physically bulky guys. Special could be kind of an issue, but I do have the Mega Venusaur, and I could potentially run a specially defensive Jirachi or something, maybe Calm Mind, I don't know. Anyway, I do have a number of really potent threats for like offensive stuff. It's stuff that you don't normally, think of when you think of like the most powerful offensive Pokemon in the game. But I've got a number of different setup options. I've got a bunch of different attacks that I can really whittle stuff down with. I have a number of good ways to set up Stealth Rocks, and I don't know. I just think this team is going to have some really good synergy if I can effectively use them and switch guys in and out and deal with whatever my opponent has that threatens me. Basically, that's the plan anyway. So yeah, it should be pretty good. I'm really looking forward to this season. This is my first time doing any of this draft format type Pokemon play, but it should be super fun. So if you guys are excited, feel free to tell me. If you have any suggestions for when the trade window comes up, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll try to respond to everything. If you want to see what has been picked, what hasn't, all that stuff, I'll leave both of these spreadsheets in the comments or in the description as well. And all the other YouTubers that I have the channels for, I'll put them in the description. So if you want to check them out, feel free. And yeah, it should be pretty fun. So, guys, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you when we start Pokemon battling. Later!